Welcome to the Double Drinkers 2025 Fantasy Football Podcast with Willie J and Nick Meyer. On this episode, we bring you the Week 3 recap, Nuclear Boys, a top 5 rest of the season, and some Week 4 preview. I think this is the one place that like the deeper voice is going to really work from the sickness that I seem to have. Is like it works for that one intro. Welcome in, of course, as you just heard, it's me and Willie. We're hosting this fantasy football podcast here. We've been doing it for a little bit. You're here with us live if you are. If not, check us on YouTube, or if you just like podcasts, check us on Apple Pods, Spotify. It's been, an interesting 3 weeks of the NFL season. And
last week, the end of games last week was, unprecedented in some ways.
Mm-hmm. If you hear me coughing and sniffling, I apologize. I got the kid sickness. They brought it home from the school. So we're just gonna have to live with that. That's just the way life is sometimes. But we are here. We are talking about fantasy football. So week 3 is in the books. I hope that you had a good week 3, whoever's listening to this, because I think if you listened to us, you probably did pretty well. This was one of our better weeks so far, from my understanding.
We hit on most. I think I had JSN and Rome and Nuclear Boys, and that went off. I think our sits were pretty consistent too. I'll have to pull it up here. Same with the gut check starts too.
Yeah.
Well, last week was unpredictable, but some things happened that made sense, and I feel like it's a combination of like we learned some things we didn't know yet, but also like really built upon what we talked about last week with certain players that maybe just aren't going to break out. Like, for example, Travis Hunter. It looks like he probably wasn't going to break out after week 1 or 2, and then that kind of just solidified last week, week 3. The Jags won, right? Mm-hmm. No, they lost.
They did lose, and it was an ugly loss too.
Yeah, and it was nothing to do with Travis Hunter. I mean, that's just an example. And Isaiah Pacheco, he is one that I think we had as a gut check start, but he was consistent in a bad way. We thought he would break out, but he just did not.
The Jaguars did win. They beat the Texans 17-10.
All right, Texans are. I don't know what's going on with the Texans right now.
Yeah, I feel pretty good. I had Nico Collins and Jonathan Taylor as my Nuclear Boys, and I think they both did well for you.
Yeah.
Gut check, Cortland Sutton and DJ Moore. DJ Moore got a touchdown.
Cortland did too. Cortland looked great. I mean, he had the touchdown, which inflated his value, but he looked great.
It was nice to see. Like that second week was pretty like scary as a Cortland owner, but it was like, okay, let's do this again, and they went right back to him, and it looked amazing.
He has that game, 1 or 2 games every single season where he puts up a total donut or like 2 points or less, and that was. I mean, it looks like he's getting it out of the way early, which I like. Mm-hmm. I did want to sit Ramondre, Bill, and Jordan Love, and I think all 3 of them had pretty terrible games. I'm not 100% certain about Bill, but he didn't go off, and Jordan Love was abysmal, and Ramondre, so many fumbles.
Bill had a touchdown, which saved his week.
Okay.
And then I had Breece Hall, who stunk it up, and DK Metcalf as a sit. DK Metcalf didn't look great, but Christian Gonzalez also didn't play that game.
That's right. That's right. I forgot about that.
But figure out what's going on with him and Aaron Rodgers. So let's talk about some news that's happened pretty recently here before we go forward. So week 3, there's a lot of injuries. There's a lot of interesting things. I think the first thing I want to start with, not that we have to start with it, but I do want to start with it, is Stephon Diggs. Allegations against Stephon Diggs. They are very interesting. I don't know if they are going to end up with suspension, but I almost feel like they likely will.
Unfortunately, I say this unfortunately because the NFL doesn't really care about victims. They really care about bad press. And with the amount of press with Diggs right now, and just for a lot of different reasons, over the summer with the drug use, then with Cardi B's pregnancy, that he's allegedly impregnated another woman, and then like this assault allegations, like it's just abysmal press for Diggs and abysmal play for him too. So I don't think it's going to be like super soon, but I could see it being inevitable that he gets suspended, and the Patriots aren't really going to miss a beat. He's been a non-factor really.
Yeah, very, very unimportant to their passing game. I thought he would be more involved, but the ACL seems to be holding him back a little bit, or their scheme just they don't need him as much. Hunter Henry does the thing.
He
Uh,
does. It is weird though, because I mean they gave him a 3-year contract. It wasn't just like a 1-year prove it deal. So
mhm.
we'll see. I mean, it wouldn't drop him, but I have no interest in starting him. I was super high on him, but I don't know. I remember that video of the Vikings in the locker room, and they were asking each other's teammates like, which player would least like? Would you least not want to date your sister? And everyone said Stephon Diggs, and it kind of came across as like a joke, like, okay, this guy's like a cheater, ladies' man, or like a diva wide receiver. But now looking back, it feels like they're maybe looking at him more as a predator and not just like a lighthearted, like I don't want him dating my sister.
Yeah,
Um,
I believe it was Dalvin Cook's reaction when they asked him that question, where he looks like he's saying like, "Hey, do you really want me to bust this guy out in front of people?"
yeah. So yeah,
Um,
Diggs just
yeah, Diggs is dangerous right now, and also I don't know how much he's worth holding, so just be prepared to lose him. I would say.
yes.
James Conner, he hurt his ankle. I watched the replay. I'm not exactly sure what it was, but he is definitely out for the season, is my understanding. So Trey Benson skyrockets in value. He becomes the season long RB1 with Amari DiMercado as the RB2.
I mean Benson, like I talked about last week, or on one of the gut check start weeks, he third round pick. Like he was an early third round pick. The Cardinals, want to have him on their team. Like he was drafted earlier than like a Caleb Johnson was. And obviously that not a good comparison because Johnson hasn't been great, but like he was an early drafted running back to be the future, and now he's stepping into that role. I mean, I think he's at least an RB2, if not a high end RB2, rest of the season. And it just sucks it comes this way. But
Yeah, the Cardinals definitely need the running game to win, also because their passing game just does not look good. So
yeah,
it's a whole problem. Colson Loveland hurt his hip and did not return after exiting in the second quarter for the Chicago Bears. Colson Loveland hasn't exactly been fantasy relevant so far this year. There's hope, but it hasn't really like played out.
none of the Bears rookies have been relevant really at all until this past week when Luther Burden had an unbelievable catch on an
Mm-hmm.
unbelievable throw, and he found the end zone. It seems like he's going to get pretty involved. I think the Bears are going to start using DJ Moore as more of a running back, and then Luther Burden's going to step into that wide receiver 2 or 3 role. But
Yeah, I can see that. Um, I would want to wait one more week to see Luther Burden really do something else again prior
yeah,
to like spinning on him. But if you do want to beat that, if you think he is going to do it, this would be a good week to pick him up. Samaje Perine got hurt his right thumb, ruled out of the game. I don't know the severity of it, but of course the Bengals just look awful. They look terrible. The Vikings had just the game of their life on defense. Isaiah Rodgers had probably one of the most dominant defensive games ever.
yeah. I don't think that's an exaggeration. I mean, it reminded me of that on the offensive side. It reminded me of that running back. I think something Gray, who had like 5 touchdowns for the Patriots, and then not saying this will happen to Rodgers, but he just like kind of just disappeared. But like that
Mm-hmm.
level of like coming out of nowhere to have a game of your life.
Yeah, it was awesome. There's gonna be a lot of panic on Bengals players. Like I have Chase Brown in most of my main leagues, and I'm a little panicked. But I also think that this isn't actually the Bengals team you're gonna get every week. I
Hmm.
think the Vikings just came out and they played it perfect. And when you have a once in a lifetime game, career game from a player, it really helps, and
Yeah,
it makes the offense look a lot worse. That's for sure.
yeah. And I
Uh,
mean Brian Flores is, I think, regardless of talent on the team, I think he's probably the best defensive coordinator right now. So
yeah, can you imagine it's got to be one of the worst defenses to start. Not he's Jake Browning's not a rookie, but to start someone who isn't completely proven against.
yeah, I mean Caleb week 1. So there you go.
Hmm. Dallas Cowboys receiver CeeDee Lamb hurt high ankle sprain. It sounds like. Um, he left the game after he was given a running attempt. I don't. I'm having like conflicting reports on how much time he's going to miss. It does seem like he will miss some time unless you ask Jerry Jones.
Yeah.
But Jerry
He's
Jones
one
isn't
to downplay
isn't a serious person. So
it looks like it's anywhere from like 1 week to IR.
hmm hmm and that's of course big if you have uh George Pickens. It also hurts Javonte Williams a little bit. But it hurts. I don't know. Their defense is so bad that they're going to be slinging the ball no matter what. It might really help Jake Ferguson because I think he got a ton of targets after CD went out.
He's had so many targets. He had so many targets in the game where CD was in last week against the Giants. Well, I'm going to talk about him later on our rest of season rankings.
That sounds good. Green Bay Packers lost the right tackle, Zach Tom, to an oblique. That's unfortunate. You don't like that as a Josh Jacobs owner, or even really is an owner of any part of this offense. Now, the wide receiver is already pretty tough to use.
Yeah.
Having a worse offensive line doesn't make that better. It makes it a lot worse.
And Zach Tom's been such a great underrated player. I think that they're probably going to kick in their rookie from last year, Jordan Morgan, in from right guard to right tackle. So maybe he has some potential, but yeah, it's a big question up in the air.
Mm-hmm. The Indianapolis Colts, Alec Pierce got a concussion, which is rough because he was starting to look pretty good. He was kind of like the Alec Pierce that we've seen beforehand. He was catching the deep balls, and if he does that consistently, he could be a useful piece like last year when he had the little string of games. But unfortunately, he just can't seem to string them together for long enough to really like enter fantasy relevance. So we're seeing that again.
And he's not relevant, but really what he does is he helps Daniel Jones and raise Daniel Jones' ceiling on a weekly basis.
The Jaguars lost wide receiver Diami Brown to a shoulder injury. This is like the one little shred of news that you could almost see like, hey, well, maybe this opens the door for Travis Hunter to get more offensive play. But I'm not overly excited about it. They have I think it's Patrick Washington.
Parker,
they've been playing a lot. Parker, thank you.
He got a ton of targets.
And it didn't look particularly good. I'm very unhappy with the Jacksonville Jaguars just as an offense as a whole. Their running backs have done well for you. If you took at ETN, if you have Bashal Tootin, like Tootin had an okay game, not really great. But Shane Waldron.
It's Shane Waldron, 100%. I mean, you can make jokes all you want about like what JSN said about him in like an interview. You should go look that up. It's pretty funny. He does not want to defend Shane Waldron. I'll just say that. But yeah, I mean, Waldron's left a mess everywhere, and when he's left, every single wide receiver has gotten better. It seems like Cooper Kupp, JSN, Rome Odunze, and now he's just tanked this offense.
Yeah, we can talk about it real quick. So Brian Thomas Jr. is still just a drop machine right now. His catch rate is 25%. It's pretty bad. And then Travis Hunter is just not seeing the field enough to be relevant. Even if he was, it's arguable that this offense doesn't necessarily click well enough to make two receivers have enough targets to be relevant. Travis Hunter is interesting because he's been playing defense. He's been playing okay. And his offense has been very uninspiring. But they lost, I think, 2 cornerbacks so far this season, and that's why he's in there so much. And so losing a receiver gives you some hope, but they need that defensive help.
It's hard. I mean, by far my favorite player on this Jags team is Travis Etienne for fantasy at this point.
Yeah. The Raiders secondary tight end Michael Mayer, he got a concussion. He was ruled out against Washington for it. He may or may not come back this next week. I don't think this matters too much because he doesn't really eat from Brock Bowers' plate.
No,
he's just kind of a auxiliary piece
and a good blocker too.
Mm-hmm. He helps out Geno, I think, and they do need good blockers. Trust me. But I'm not overly worried about it.
Then we have the 2 big ones besides James Conner. Well, one is Mike Evans. I don't think he's been placed on IR or the PUP or anything, but he has a hamstring injury. Maybe he is on IR. What's his status?
He wasn't last I checked, but he could be now. He's having an MRI.
Oh, that's what it was. Not IR, but MRI. That's where it was.
But Mike Evans in a hamstring, that's bad. That's not great.
And he's probably going to miss multiple weeks. Chris Godwin might come back this week, but we don't know what he's going to look like.
Yeah. That makes Emeka Egbuka look pretty awesome. Even if Chris Godwin comes back and looks great, that still makes Emeka Egbuka look pretty awesome.
Pretty awesome. And he's looked awesome with the Bucks. O-line is completely banged up. They have their center playing left tackle in replacement of Tristan Wirfs. they have a lot of injuries on the O line, and you haven't really noticed. I mean, you've seen more pressure, and you've seen Mayfield have to like scramble more. So if you watch the games, it's obvious, but like if you just look at the wins, the results, the points, you can't tell that the O line's that banged up.
Mm-hmm. Um, Terry McLaurin has a quad injury that he's getting extra help from a specialist. So we don't know if he's gonna miss time, but I'd say that's a pretty bad sign.
Yeah.
And then Najee Harris tore his Achilles, so he's out for the season. That means Omarion Hampton is just a full go. I think the only running back behind him now is Hassan um, Haskins.
Who?
Haskins, is that right?
It kind of rings a bell. I think I read this somewhere. I think this shouldn't affect Hampton's fantasy value really much at all. Maybe a little bit, but I've read and I believe this. I think the Chargers could probably sign Gus Edwards. That makes a lot of sense. I'm kind of surprised they didn't to begin with, because he
Yeah,
was so cheap.
it is. So it is Hassan Haskins. He played in Michigan with Harbaugh, so that's kind of like the connection there.
Oh, okay. So that makes sense that he probably wants to play him and all that.
Mm-hmm. And then, oh god,
I was going to say, just look for Gus Edwards to be signed, or maybe like a Zach Moss.
Mm-hmm.
Look for another signing, but not one that's going to be replacing Hampton. Just a complimentary piece.
No, and then okay, so Tyrone Tracy Jr. got hurt. It doesn't sound like it's a super serious injury, but it should keep him out a few weeks. That lives Scadaboo, the just lay of the land. He's the guy in New York. Now, being the guy in New York is a little bit different than being the guy in a team that's actually good. But yeah, we saw him. We saw him. He's looked slow. He's looked like a plotter, but he is really strong, and he seems to find a way.
He's gonna get injured. He just the hits he takes. It looks like he's playing like he's gonna get CTE, or he looks like he's playing already with it. Like it's bad. He takes a lot of head hits, and which is tough.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's cool, but I don't know. There is a big upside there, not just with the Tracy injury, but if watching the Sunday night game, like he was I believe, leading rusher and leading receiver for the Giants, that's like something that CMC does, and not many other players usually have that. That's a very rare player thing.
Although I would guess that, judging by the news that you heard afterwards, that's not really what the Giants want. So they benched Russ going forward. They said Jackson Dart will be the starter for the rest of the season. As someone who also is invested in Malik Neighbors a lot, I'm tentatively happy. It really can't get much worse than what we saw with Russ do last week.
Mm-hmm.
It just really can't. Like Russ sucked. That was bad. But as we've seen with the Giants, if all of your players seem to go and do better elsewhere, how am I supposed to get excited about Jackson Dart starting? What if he comes out and he just looks like Daniel Jones 2.0?
That wouldn't really worry me for Malik Neighbors, at least. I feel like not that Malik Neighbors is QB proof, because we will see him be very inconsistent if Russ is starting. But I mean, he was doing great last year. What was it? Drew Lock and Tommy DeVito, Daniel Jones. Like, I feel like Dart would probably be at the same level as Drew Lock at worst. I mean, I don't know. We haven't seen him play in a regular game, but that's just kind of like where my mindset would be. I think starting him against the Chargers defense for his first game is a choice.
I wouldn't do that.
No.
No. Not with Derwin James still active. If Derwin James is playing, that defense wrecks.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we did learn, I think, that the Cowboys defense really is just as bad as advertised, because the Giants just threw for 450 yards against the Cowboys, and then they come out against the Chiefs, and it looks like they don't even know how to like play modern football anymore.
No. Yeah, and I know I want to buy into that, but also I don't want to fully, because the Bears looked incredible on offense against the Cowboys, and I want to believe part of that is just Caleb. I mean, he won NFC Offensive Player of the Week, which is pretty exciting.
Mm-hmm.
The offense, regardless of a defense, it looked more competent. But the fact that was the first game that Caleb has never taken a sack says a lot more about the Cowboys defense than it does about Caleb as a player.
At this point, if you have anyone against Cowboys defense, you kind of want to try to play them. You don't want to get them into your lineup. I mean, it won't be hard to, but like even the medium players, you might want to push them up a little bit.
I looked last night, and the Cowboys on the fantasy app are ranked dead last 32 worst defense for fantasy.
That makes sense. Everyone's going off against them.
Yeah.
That's unless I'm forgetting anything, that's what I have for the news.
Those are the big ones. We're gonna like talk about some of the games, just kind of go through and maybe look at some trends or some things that maybe were different than last week, and just kind of talk about some of the games and see, what's changed. If is anything significant changed from week 2 to week 3. Where are we at right now? Week 3.
Yeah.
We started with Dolphins Bills. I mean, not really much change there.
Dolphins look better than I thought they would.
Me too.
Bills defense might not be that strong, honestly.
That was the other thing I was going to say. I don't know about the Bills defense. I mean, the Ravens look. I don't know. It's weird. I still can't wrap my head around the Ravens and Bills like putting out so many points and looking Super Bowl caliber, but their defenses are allowing 40 points. That's just
yeah. And over again too. Like the Dolphins scoring 21. If Tua didn't throw a late interception, that game might have been flipped the other way. And that was just a boneheaded interception by Tua. It wasn't like it was a great defensive play.
No, it was just a Tua thing.
Yeah. Vikings Bengals. I say throw it away. That Vikings defense was too strong, too good. Again, game of the year. If you can, I'm almost at the point where if you can buy certain Bengals players really low, you should.
Yeah.
Chase Brown is the most worrisome for me because his stats just suck so bad.
And the O-line. And he's not, without Burrow, he's not being utilized in the passing game. That's what I'm most concerned about.
One thing I did like is that at the very end of that game, he went from having 0 catches, I think, to having 3 catches because on the final drive, they finally started using him and they finally scored points. So maybe they're like, okay, we should do that. That works. But then again, Jake Browning did throw an interception when targeting Chase Brown. Jake Browning, even? I think he said Jake Brown. Jamar Chase is going to have better games. I don't know that you're going to get him for super cheap, but if you could, you should. And then T. Higgins, super cheap. If you want him, try to find him for super cheap because it just depends on how much you think Jake Browning can support 2 receivers.
And we don't even know for sure that it will be Jake Browning. I think it will for at least a couple games, but we'll see. I will talk about Jamar Chase later when we talk about rest of the season, and I'll kind of go on a little rant about my feelings. If there's one player from this game I would buy, it's Jordan Mason. Again, Bengals defense, but Jordan Mason, he's just getting so many opportunities. And even if the Vikings, this is maybe just a prediction, but even if the Vikings are down, I feel like the run game, they're going to still use it to get back up. So Mason is a league winner, I think, at this point.
He did really well. He had 7.3 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. And they were, of course, up, but he looked good. It wasn't just like he was part of the reason they were up.
Yeah, exactly.
Texans Jaguars, what an ugly AFC South game. Texans look bad, Jaguars look bad. Nico Collins had a good game. Nico's going to have a hard time against a defense that has a good pass rush. And I think the Jaguars it's not terrible, but it's not good. Mediocre, very mediocre in my opinion.
They have a duo of a Josh Hines Allen, Trayvon Walker duo is the very least good.
They weren't getting as much pressure as I think you would hope for, which led to Nico Collins having a good game. Jaguars still win though. The Jaguars, I just don't know what to do with those pass catchers. I was talking to Willie before we started this, and I picked up DeMarcus Robinson from the 49ers, and I have Travis Hunter on my bench, and I was actually contemplating dropping Travis Hunter for a kicker because I have to drop one of them. And Travis Hunter, I just don't. He's not on the field enough as a receiver.
No. Regardless, even if he breaks out, I still don't see him being higher than wide receiver 3 on this team, at least in terms of targets, because of the amount of snaps he's playing on defense.
Yeah, Brenton Strange looks like someone that they would rely on when they absolutely need a third down. And that's where even you would hope that if Travis isn't playing a lot, he'd be playing those third downs and maybe be that guy in the slot, but he's not. He's just currently not.
It's just a lot to ask from what we've seen with Shane Waldron, at least.
Yeah, it's true. So Colts Titans, the Colts continue to just run over opponents right now. So they did punt, they did miss field goals. So they had 2 drives that didn't get points. But Jonathan Taylor looks like the real deal. He is so fast, so strong right now. That I think the only thing that could stop him from putting up a dominant season is injury, and we're just gonna hope that doesn't happen because he's fun to watch. He's good.
He's so good. I mean, and you could say he's injury prone and maybe had some things with his ankles, but I mean, he had that season, and he's like 3 years removed from that now. So he's had 2 years of like quality close to RB1 play, but not quite like that. But now he hasn't had a significant injury in a minute. So maybe just like maybe he's healed up enough, and he's one of the best college running backs of all time. So we saw him get a lot of use in college, and then still produce at a high level with high volume in the NFL. So I would drink the Kool-Aid that he absolutely could stay healthy and absolutely could finish as the RB1 overall.
If you can, I don't think you can get him for cheap right now. I think you have to pay RB1 overall sort of prices, but he's one of those dudes who might actually just be worth it.
Yeah.
Because like he just looks so good, and that whole offense looks way better than anyone would have guessed. Daniel Jones is not just competent, but he looks pretty darn good. Tyler Warren wasn't like that involved in this game, and they still had a pretty darn good game.
I would say that if Rome Odunze has one more great game and you're good on receivers, like trade him for maybe somebody wouldn't take Jonathan Taylor, but like some receiver or some other position that's been in the top 5 and will stay in the top 5. Maybe like a couple big games out of Odunze. Just some player that maybe you don't expect the rest of the season. Trade him for Taylor. That's what you're gonna get for Taylor.
Yeah. Raiders Commanders. I want to move on from that game. I hated that.
Yeah.
Marcus Mariota was amazing. The Raiders offensive line is probably the worst. There's just nothing else to say about it. Their offensive line is terrible, and that it could be like a talent thing. It could be a Chip Kelly thing. Because Chip Kelly had the same issue in Philadelphia for one of his years there.
It was like 99% of Genty's yards came after contact so far. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate because Genty doesn't look bad, which you'll hear everywhere, and he really doesn't. But he's not going to have success as far as fantasy if he can't bust out, and that's crazy. The Raiders do want to destroy this like 12-year streak of wide receivers drafted in the top 10, finishing in the top 10. They really want to, and as a fan of the Raiders, I understand that they're capable of doing it.
Oh yeah.
Trey Tucker, we need to mention him. He went bananas. He had 8 receptions, 1,000,000 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Trey Tucker can do that. He's the long, deep guy, and Geno can throw a pretty good deep ball every once in a while, but not all the time. I'm saying be wary. If you're doing best ball tournaments or something like that, or like weekly tournaments, Trey Tucker is a good guy to like throw in there for cheap. As far as like redraft and like benching other players that are proven, I am not so excited about that.
Yeah, and he's a player that also he's young enough at like Dynasty. If I have him in Dynasty, I like that. I wouldn't trade for him at this point because his trade value is going to be an all-time high, and not worth it. But the only thing that gets me excited about his redraft future is just the fact that he is younger. But I don't know, it's hard to buy in.
The Raiders do like him. I know that, but what does that mean for fantasy?
Yeah,
if the Raiders can't just put it together. I do have a quick question. We'll pop in here. Should I trade Odunze for James Cook in full PPR league? I have strong wide receivers. My RBs are Pollard and Henderson. I think yes, 100%. James Cook is that guy.
Yeah,
feel good about doing that.
Yeah, even if your receivers weren't great, like Odunze, I think is going to have a really good season, and he could be a wide receiver 1. But he's been very touchdown dependent, and James Cook has as well. But James Cook is just an every down kind of back in most situations, and he's just it's just a slam dunk. Like
and it double flex, it doesn't really matter. Like James Cook is a guy who you want. They love him there, and he's just doing fantastic. Rams Eagles came back and won this game somehow, some way.
19 points, 19 points.
And the AJ Brown actually had a good game, so that's nice to see. They can throw the ball to AJ Brown, and he is a good player.
For 2.5 games, they weren't passing at all, and then they were down. They're like, okay, I guess we got to pass, and then they passed, and then the receivers did great. So I don't know.
Devonta Smith had a game. AJ Brown had a game. It was just nice to see from the Eagles. They're not washed on offense. It's not a bad place for like their offense. You are going to want to look at that though, and like understand that you're going to have to play more of a game script sort of thing with their players. Like if you think they're just going to dominate a game, you probably don't really want to play a wide receiver there.
Yeah, that's a good point.
The Rams look like the Rams. I don't think anything's new there.
Their big 3 are startable every single week.
Falcons Panthers. So what an ugly game by the Falcons. Michael Penix is just coming out here and I am trying not to make too obvious of a pun here, but he's just blowing. He just sucks.
And the 0 points thing. Like I can understand struggling, but I think that maybe that's partially coaching and play calling. But how do you just get 0 points? I get 2 missed field goals, but I just can't wrap my head around that against the Panthers.
They didn't even make it past the Panthers' 30-yard line, so it was just like complete ineptitude the whole way through. And it's not like Bijan looked bad because Bijan looked pretty good.
Bijan had a good game. He finished with like 20 points. Like
Mm-hmm.
his floor seems to be like 20 points every week, which is crazy. I love it.
I don't think this is the Panthers that are for real. This isn't what I think you expect from the Panthers, and
No.
it's pretty wild that they did this when T-Mac having a pretty subpar game. The Panthers defense, I think they had 2 scores, if I remember right.
I think they had 2 pick sixes or something. Yeah.
This is 100% in my opinion. Just either Penix isn't getting it or something's wrong with the quarterback and the actual scheme. Like they're just missing something.
I do want to speak to Bryce Young and not getting excited about the offense is that he had 24 passing attempts, 16 completions for only 120 yards and no touchdowns. That's not good. That's not good numbers.
You're not going to get overexcited about it.
No.
Steelers beat the Patriots. The Jalen Warren looks good.
Mm-hmm.
Patriots look okay. Hunter Henry did pretty much everything for him in this game. Ramondre Stevenson fumbled twice and lost both. And then immediately afterwards, Antonio Gibson fumbled and lost it. And I think those were like the difference makers in the game because otherwise they were driving down the field. They looked like they could have scored. So now this isn't Bill Belichick. So I do caution that just because they fumbled, that doesn't mean they're going to get pulled.
Yeah.
You do like to see it as a Travion Henderson owner, though. This is like opening the way for him.
Brighter days are ahead. Like he had the most carries. He had 11 carries to the 4 and 7 for the other guys, but his yards per carry weren't great. But I think I don't know. I just brighter days are ahead. I think.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like you said, I don't think that Ramondre and Antonio are just going to go away because they fumble.
Yeah, no. Unfortunately, I really wish they would. On the Steelers side, I think I already said Jalen Warren looks pretty good. DK Metcalf looks very mediocre, but like he is a touchdown machine at this point. So
yeah,
his floor, he scored between 11 and 12 points each week in PPR. That's a pretty nice little flex player, you know. Nothing super exciting.
I do want to add that Jalen Warren is similar to Cam Scatabo, but not quite to the same level. But he's leading the team in targets and carries, which is significant.
Packers Browns. The Browns won 13-10. I really liked this game. This was a fun game to watch because it was such a defensive battle, and the Browns defense just actually came out and said we're better. And Quinshon Judkins looks like the dude. He's able to run against like hard fronts.
I'm gonna bite my tongue on that one. Being skeptical, he was possibly suspended. I mean, he looked incredible in that game, and yeah, the stats. Watching the box score is not enough. Like watching the game against this Packers defense and knowing what they have done to stop other running backs, and then seeing Quinshon go out there and basically win the Browns this game, you know, in tangent with the defense. But yeah, he looked legit.
That's the way the Browns want to play. They want to play defensive games where they run the ball up your throat, and like Quinshon looks like he's going to be that dude who can do that.
If I was going to say if Flacco can somehow return to what he was 2 years ago, like this could be a wild card team with this defense.
Flacco didn't look very good though this game, which makes sense because it was the Packers D. But like you do have to worry about if they switch in Gabriel at some point or Shador. Who knows which order they go in.
I think they should sooner rather than later. I don't want them to waste this defense. Like they're 1-2 in a hard division, but if their run game and this defense is that good like that, you could get a wild card play. I mean, even in the AFC, like they are that good. So you need to fix your offense.
Yeah.
Rifling.
Jets Buccaneers, what a crazy game. The Jets lose this one 29-27, but they tried their best. And Aaron Glenn had probably the best dance move that I've ever seen.
Oh, he was getting it, yeah.
It was hard not to be like, I don't care about these teams like other than fantasy, but like watching Aaron Glenn dance like that, I'm like, I am liking this Jets all automatically. It was a great game to watch. It went down to the wire. The Buccaneers just snuck through a win. The Jets were blocking kicks, I think, just over and over again.
Yeah, I don't know what I don't know what to think of the Jets. I mean, we've had like a different quarterback basically every week because the ghost of Justin Fields was starting week 2.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say.
Garrett Wilson is just he is inevitable.
He
They
is.
they will throw him the ball over and over again, regardless of who's there.
I think he's going to have his best season, regardless of what the Jets end up doing.
I think they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
I their run game, the Jets run game, I don't really love playing any pieces of that right now. Brees Hall, he looked really good the first week. He hasn't looked so good since, and like Braylon Allen doesn't seem like a player that you can really realistically plug in.
Yeah, with Fields, when Fields comes back, like if in fantasy everyone like defenses started just a rushing game, like with all the players, like the Jets would be one of the best. I mean, they have an incredible rushing offense, it looks like so far, but it's spread so evenly between the players. It's
I will say for the Buccaneers that Baker Mayfield goes on to show how tough he is. He kept looking like he got hurt over and over and over again, but then would just like pop up to talk crap to someone, which is really entertaining to watch. Like he would like on the ground and looking like he's holding his knee or something, like oh writhing in pain, and then he sees like Sauce Gardner near him and he just like pops up and starts yelling at him.
He had in his press conference, he said something about I don't remember, it was like a revenge game context, but he mentioned that like Steve Wilkes was the head coach when he got kicked off the Panthers. Like and he seemed angry. He's like
he did. Them winning that game. Emeka Egbuka is going to be amazing. It just seems like all the stars are aligning for him over and over and over again.
Yeah, Bucky's looking a little rough.
I'm willing to put this one on the Jets having a good run defense because Bucky looks like he has put on some weight and he's hitting people now, and I don't know that that's like exactly what you want to see, but I think it will lead to some more touchdown opportunities for him,
especially against a better or a worse rushing defense, because the fact that he had 25 carries is absurd. That's a lot.
They wanted it to work and it just wasn't quite. Broncos Chargers, the Broncos managed to lose this one. Cortland Sutton looked great. J.K. Dobbins did great, and that's the Broncos offense. Troy Franklin, I think he had a touchdown or he dropped a touchdown. I can't remember.
He dropped one. He did not have a good game.
Yeah, and then the Chargers, once Najee went down, Omarion Hampton took over, and he looked great.
And he was so involved in the receiving too, which is exciting to see.
The one thing I will say about the Broncos is they have a great defense, but you're going to want to play running backs against them, I think, because that seems to be the place where they are most weak.
Yeah, it seems like it so far.
Saints Seahawks. Oh, go on.
Oh, I was just going to say was it the Broncos were playing the Colts the week that Jonathan Taylor went nuclear. So yeah, that's a great point.
I should mention with the Chargers that Quentin Johnston is just getting spammed with targets, and early on too. So he looks like he's really actually is a focal point of this offense.
He might be for real. I don't know.
Saints Seahawks. That was a game that just went immediately ugly for the Saints. If you played the Seahawks defense, you loved it.
Yeah.
Torrey Horton looked great. I think he had the punt return touchdown and he caught a receiving touchdown.
Yeah.
He's someone to pay attention to because it just depends on how you feel about Cooper Kupp. If Cooper Kupp like slowly loses relevance over the season, Torrey Horton's going to be the guy who shows up as the wide receiver too. But JSN is the wide receiver one.
What a wide receiver one he is.
Gosh, I should have been like way more like into JSN.
It was a mistake, and I should have also recognized that we were talking about the Seahawks offense being poor because of the O-line, and then the running game is going to be bad. But because of that, with that mindset, you would think that I would have picked up on like, okay, so they're going to be down a lot. They're going to be passing to JSN. I think I wrote up Sam Darnold a little too quick, and maybe I was a little too harsh on this O-line.
He's proving to be hyper efficient again, but like that might just be something that he learned from Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah.
And he's taking it with him, The Saints, they look pretty bad. Alvin Kamara is probably someone who you're pretty disappointed in at this point. they can't seem to like figure out that you could throw him the ball over and over again. So he has a bunch of rushing attempts and barely any receptions this game, um,
Which
which is crazy because they lost by a ton. So you'd think they'd want to do that.
at least switch it up and like try and targeting him more. I read an article that he's being talked about as a trade candidate to the Chiefs. I don't think that's an insider take. I think that's just like a potential hypothetical, but I like it.
Oh, I hate it. I hate it so much. Um, the Jawan Johnson is returning value. He's real at this point. He seems to be like a real part of their offense.
Yeah,
And Chris Olave has been slowly doing fine.
he's just. I think he's the second most targeted player in the league right now,
Hmm.
um, behind Puka. I think.
And he doesn't look like super explosive or anything, but he looks good.
Yeah, he looks like he can catch passes.
He might be the one who's actually ruining Alvin Kamara because 10 for 57, that is a Kamara line.
Yes, it is a Kamara line. Olave is so weird. I still, as good as he's been, I still don't really want him. I don't know. I mean, that's it. That's a good. I mean, 15.7 fantasy points is good, but I don't know, man. Olave is just. I don't know. The Saints
It,
team is just. Yeah,
if you need to make a 2-for-1 and you're getting the 2 and Olave is the throw in, I think there's value there.
I like
Um,
that.
like if you're like really lacking for depth and you lose starters and you need to trade out of a power position and get someone thrown in, Chris Olave is probably like realistically someone who you could get and that could be a starter for you.
I like. Yeah, I do like him as a flex play. I just don't like him enough to be like my wide receiver 2 every week.
Yeah, yeah. We'll look at Cowboys Bears. You can talk about that. I want you to talk about that. That's exciting for you.
It was. I mean, so we talk about maybe is it Caleb is the Cowboys defense, but regardless, this offense just looked so much better than it has all season. Caleb looked so good. Like didn't take a sack. His pass under pressure to Luther Burden down the field was a perfect throw, and Luther like delivered with a touchdown. I think that this Caleb's not going to have games like this all the time, but we have seen Caleb's going to use his legs, so I think he just has such a safe floor as a fantasy QB rest of season. Like every game, he's startable at this point.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't. I don't know that I buy into like QB2 overall right now. But
yeah,
I could see it being in that range. Like it's not far off. I think that like he looks pretty good.
and DJ Moore, he had a touchdown, but I want to see him involved more in the run game. He had 3 carries. I think he could do more. I like him as maybe a little bit more of a gadget play than he's been, and I think Ben Johnson has kind of leaned a little bit towards that. Roma Dunze, like I want to say like compare him to Quentin Johnston, not like a higher end Quentin Johnston, and be like, okay, well he's gonna regress in touchdowns, but I don't know. He's looking so good every week. It's hard to not get excited about him rest of season.
And that's fair. On the Cowboy side, they lost CD and George Pickens picked up the slack pretty well, I would say. He's not the same sort of player. He doesn't have like the ceiling that CD has, but I think he's got a pretty good floor while CD's out.
Mm-hmm.
And then Javonte Williams continues to look good, and Jake Ferguson again, like that's going to be the safety target or safety valve, especially while CD's out. So Jake Ferguson's going to keep getting millions of targets.
He's not scored a touchdown. I think he's tight end 2 with no touchdown,
Yes,
and
that's
he
pretty
has
sick.
13 receptions for 82 yards.
And it's not for like the lack of throwing to him in the end zone. He just keeps getting beat up.
He's like McBride.
Yeah.
He can't catch. Well, this week he did, but
Cardinals 49ers. Well, that's a game the Cardinals definitely should have won, and they found a way to lose. Mac Jones didn't look like that great. He didn't look bad. Let's talk about the Cardinals for a second. Do you have any hope in Marvin Harrison Jr. having a good season? Because I think I'm out now on him. He just can't seem to deliver.
I still like him as buy low. It's a lot of mental game. He had one of the worst drops I've ever seen in this game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just a pass that nobody drops. Like not just an elite receiver, but like nobody. It's like he caught it and then just threw it down. I don't know. It's hard for me to get excited, but he is like he's at a very 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 low value right now. I'll just say that.
McBride looks great, so you don't have to worry there. And then Trey Benson is going to take over for James Conner. I do think DeMarcado is going to be a little bit more involved than people want because he seems to be a pass catching back that they like using.
Yeah.
But Trey Benson, in theory, should have pretty solid value. I would say like at worst, probably like mid RB2.
Yeah,
with potential for higher than that.
which is way higher than he was
Mhm.
drafted.
Mhm.
And he's also underrated as a receiver. I think he's proven he can get involved in the passing game.
Yeah, yeah. The Ricky Pearsall looks good. Pretty much no one else on that offense looked good. Well, okay, you're right. I'm forgetting the guy, Christian McCaffrey. Duh.
Oh yeah,
I
that
feel like
one.
it's given. I just that's the hard part. Of course, Christian McCaffrey looks good, but Christian McCaffrey getting this level of volume and not getting hurt is just the craziest thing.
I was going to mention him later when we talk about rest of the season in actually a couple minutes here, but yeah, it's ironic. He's like the most ironic fantasy finisher every year.
Mm-hmm. You're just watching him like he's like the whole offense for like series at a time, and every time I'm watching, I'm like, this is the one where he gets hurt because he can't just keep taking 30 dump offs and being okay.
Yeah,
but everyone else is just falling apart, and he's fine.
this Niners receiving core. We're getting Demarcus Robinson back this week, but it's Kendrick Bourne and MVS and Sky Moore are on this team. Like, when did they get there? Like, what? They're not doing anything, but that's just
no.
how good they are.
Yeah, it's bad. The only reason I'm in on Demarcus Robinson is because he had flashes, right? He does not like a great wide receiver, but he had flashes, and he might legitimately be the only healthy body that actually could produce on that team. That's not Ricky Pearsall. I mean, George Kittle hopefully should be back sooner rather than later, but we don't know for sure how long that is. IR is 4 weeks, but that doesn't mean 4 weeks and then he's back.
Yeah.
I'm tentatively buying in on Demarcus Robinson just for opportunity.
He was the de facto wide receiver too when Kupp was out last year on the Rams, and he produced. Not it wasn't every week, but like he showed that he could play that kind of role.
Chiefs Giants. I don't like this game very much. Just in general, like the Giants just were so bad. It was insulting to watch at times.
It was somehow worse than I expected. I saw this Sunday night game and I was like, oh, this is gonna be bad, and it was just ugh.
Yeah, it was. I mean, if you had Scatabo, you liked it, but if you had anyone else in this team, you hated it. Just not a fun game.
No, painful.
Yeah, I watched the whole thing, and I'm like, what happened? I don't even remember. Like the Giants didn't seem to ever pass the ball. I'm sure they did, but they never connected any passes.
Complete opposite of that game was one of the best games of the season, and one of the best, like just an incredible game. Lions Ravens.
Yeah. The Lions are looking legit again.
Yeah.
That Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery just destroyed the Ravens. It's almost like there were other players involved at the end, but it was really those two that were just the engine of this offense, and they just kept churning. David Montgomery, in particular, had just every single run. It looked like he was about to break out.
It might have been a career game for him, at least like 151 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's, I mean, he's had great games, but that was legit as like the de facto RB2 on this offense. Like, damn, he had half as many Gibbs.
Yeah, the Ravens aren't looking like a strong rushing defense. Derrick Henry had another fumble. I don't think they're going to bench Derrick Henry. I don't think that's what's happening here, but you got to wait until he gets his mojo back. You got to figure out what you think that's going to be. He might be a good buy low right now, really.
Yeah, I like that. I like him as a buy low. It could be partially mental with the fumbles. It really, the thing of Henry, and it's becoming more and more apparent, is just that his upside is really capped with the fact that he doesn't catch any passes.
If he's not running wild, then he's not doing anything. Mark Andrews showed up. Do you think this is a revival, or do you think this is a one-off?
It's hard to say. I mean, I don't think the Ravens are going to be this back and forth of a shootout. I think either they're going to be up most games. So I think they got him involved because they just needed that receiving help, and he is good in the end zone. He's going to be boomer bust.
What do you think about Isaiah Likely coming back?
I'm not excited about Andrews or Likely. I don't think Likely's gonna. I don't think he's gonna take over. I don't think he's gonna prove much. I do want to say boomer bust though. I feel vindicated with Zay Flowers just having a non-factor of a game, and this is what I saw coming all along. He had 2 great weeks, but I expect him to be a high-end wide receiver 3. That's my hot take.
See, I still think he'll do fine. The wide receiver ones have bad weeks every once in a while. I think this was particularly one. But the Lions play the Ravens almost perfectly on defense. Like they still scored 30 points, but they managed to stop Lamar. Like I think there was one rushing attempt where Lamar looked like he could have taken off, but they had one of the Detroit defenders right in his face, and he stopped him just dead in his tracks. And it was so nice to see. I was like, someone can finally do it. Thank you.
Lamar had the most sacks. He had 7 sacks taken. That was the most he's ever taken in his career, which is crazy in a game that the opposing offense scored 38 points. It was a fun game.
Yeah, it was. This is one of those few games where they're like, I was going to say something. I don't know if it's true. I was going to say the NFC team just came out and whomped the AFC team, but that seems like it happened a couple different times. The Lions coaching looks still pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll move on to our next portion because that was all the games. But I have one question here: should I trade away Olave, Dobbins, and Chase Brown to get Kamara and James Cook?
No, just because I think you're getting 3 for 2. Not super excited about that. I don't know. That's a hard one.
I like James Cook a lot, and I don't know about Kamara, but James Cook I do like a lot. It depends on your depth. If you can afford to lose Olave and Dobbins and still have starters that are quality, I'm in on it. And if you can't, then I wouldn't do it.
Yeah,
because when you can get the best player in the trade, I think that's wonderful. But in this particular case, you really just have to have depth because your receivers are going to hurt.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to our top 5 rest of the season. So this is Willie, why don't you start us off here?
Okay, yeah. So we're just going to go through each position quickly. I think that a lot of this is consistent with what we've seen so far, but I think both of us kind of put some hot takes in here. And it'll just be interesting kind of taking this, what we've seen so far, and then like looking back at past seasons and comparing like, okay, can they keep this up? Do we want to go by like my one, your one, or how do we want to do it?
No, let's just do position group.
Okay. So quarterback starting off, I think we have the same QB1 rest of the season. Trying to find your, oh yeah, it's Lamar. And for me, it's because not only does he have the rushing upside, he just passes the ball so much and rushes the ball. He is like the Wizard of Oz of this offense, but he's in front of the curtain, if that makes sense.
And if their defense is looking worse, that only points to more upside for Lamar.
Yeah. And again, also he's been injured before, but like the fact that he took 7 sacks and didn't get injured, I mean, he's legit.
So 2 we have some differing on. I have Josh Allen at 2, just for the milk toast like white bread answer. Josh Allen's awesome. He can take over games. I don't know that like you'll see his consistency the whole way through with Josh Allen, but I do think you'll see the extreme blow-ups, and I think that'll be enough to buoy him up to number 2.
That's the only hesitation for me is the consistency. My number 2 is a player that maybe also, doesn't have as much consistency, but he scores more touchdowns and he's in a better offense, in my opinion, and that's Jalen Hurts. His touchdown upside and the fact that we saw now that he can in fact pass the ball. Every single game, I feel like he's either going to be giving you upside with just how much he runs or how much he is passing, and his receivers are like legit. So I like Hurts the rest of the season.
Wonderful. My number 3, and we have a difference here again, is Justin Herbert. So Justin Herbert, he's looked amazing. He's got more weapons now than he has in the past. And I do believe Harbaugh when he says he wants to get Justin an MVP. And I think that's what we're seeing here is he's like, you know what? I know I want to run the ball, but Justin, he deserves everything. Like if no one looks at their quarterback the way Harbaugh looks at Justin Herbert.
It's really beautiful. And I'm going to see, Herbert, I would be ecstatic if he wins MVP. And so far, he looks like the front runner. I think that he's going to be a better real life quarterback in fantasy just because I feel like the run game is going to become more and more and more important as the season goes on. So that, and Herbert just doesn't really rush much. So every other quarterback I have in my top 5, well, actually all my quarterbacks rather in my top 5 are rushing to an extent quarterbacks. So that's me with Herbert. My number 3 is your number 4. And my number 4 is Josh Allen, but my number 3 is Baker Mayfield. And For me, it's probably similar reasons. I love this offense. Mayfield is tough. He has so many incredible weapons. He hasn't even had all his weapons on the field at the same time yet, and he rushes and he scores rushing touchdowns.
And he seems tough as nails. Like really, he does. He's such a likable dude just on the field, and this offense just fits him perfectly. Like he seems like he was tailor made for this offense. This offense was tailor made for him. So it's hard for me to see him. He'll just consistently be this guy up in the top 5 every week. You know.
Yeah.
All right, and then you can talk about Josh Allen real quick.
Okay, yeah, for Josh Allen, like I like him for similar reasons as you do. I just think that I like the Eagles and the Bucks offense for fantasy better, and I feel like Allen disappears more than Hurts and Mayfield do. But I still like him a lot. And our number 5 is the same guy, I think.
Yep.
Yes, and that's Caleb.
Mm-hmm.
He's QB2 now. Like you said, I don't think he will finish as QB2 overall, but he's had a great game. Even when the Bears have sucked, he's had a great fantasy day every single week.
I think that's what I'm looking at with Caleb is that I think there's this like up and down potential of how good he actually is on the field, but it might not matter for fantasy. Even when he has a bad game, he's going to have an okay fantasy game, and he's already shown that he can just like pop off for a game and catapult himself to QB2. I think it keeps you that.
Unfortunately, I'm getting Justin Fields deja vu. But
well, I think the big difference here though is that DeAndre Swift sucks at running the ball.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
Manon guy doesn't look very good either. So it's gonna be on Caleb Williams to win games.
Yeah, that's true.
There was that one really fun run from Manon guy where he very athletically went back like 6 yards.
I want to see more.
Yeah, it looked good, but then you're like, oh, you just lost 6 yards by not just falling down. Oops. All right, let's talk about one running backs. Let's pop some running backs off.
Let's do it. Your number 1 rest of the season is, I think, my number 4, but these top 4 for me are all really close. Who's your number 1?
My number 1 is Jonathan Taylor. So watching Jonathan Taylor run right now, he seems like he's always been that one of those running backs that when everything's clicking, he can pop off 200 yards just easily. Mm-hmm. And right now, everything is clicking. Like he just looks unstoppable in a lot of the games he's playing. Mind you, I think the defenses he's played so far haven't been exactly world busting at running defense. But if he keeps this up, he can catch the ball, he can run the ball, he can juke defenders. He's strong, he's fast, he's agile. I mean, I love his game, and watching it right now, it just looks so good.
I agree. I think the Colts could regress offensively, but because of Taylor's ability, his health, and this O-line looking actually really good, I don't see him regressing.
Mm-hmm. Who's your number 1?
So my number 1, and this is I say this partially because I think he will be number 1 if he's healthy, but also because it's just so ironic with my number 1 CMC. And I love that like every year you think he's going to be great, he gets injured. And then every year you're kind of cautious, he's incredible. And I just like the irony of him finishing RB1 again because of that, because it's always what you don't expect. And again, the Niners are banged up. They need CMC to do something. They need him every single game. And
they are using him every single
game.
Yeah, he's my number 4. I worry that like he'll lose some of his touchdown upside once everyone's back later on down the season. But and they might not use him as much because gosh, they have to. If they think they're going to make a run in the playoffs, they have to slow down on CMC a little bit. He will die if they don't.
At the very least, I think what slowing down could look like is that him just being used more as a like a first down pass catcher or something instead of a running back, which again for PPR, that's fine.
Yeah. My number 2 is your 5B, James Cook. I haven't bought in on James Cook. I think that he's going to keep being a major part of this offense. He looks phenomenal. Their backups, Ty Johnson and Ray Davis, have looked a little bit less phenomenal at this point. I mean, it could change at some point, but right now they seem pretty content with giving James Cook the ball, and he seems content to rip off huge runs and score touchdowns over and over again. Like, it looks like the touchdowns last year were not a fluke. He's ready to do it again.
My top five is pretty close. And yeah, Cook. I mean, I was higher on him maybe than most we were, but I wish I had been higher just because like we saw what he did last year, and there was really no reason to expect that would change. I think I would confidently say he's my 5. It was a little spoiler. I think kind of to be contrarian, but also because I like him. I had Josh Jacobs as 5, but that was before I realized that Zach Tom is injured. I forgot about that, so that affects my ranking a bit. So I would have Cook safely in my top 5 based on what we've seen.
Why don't you hit us up with your number 3?
My number 3. Well, my number 2 and number 3. These are all very close. But
Yeah,
right. My number 2 is Jahmyr Gibbs. I think last Monday's game was a perfect example of how even if he's sharing the backfield with Montgomery, it's so irrelevant when this offense is so good and he catches so many passes and he scores so many touchdowns. My number 3 is Bijan, and I have Gibbs ahead of him just because of really just the offense. I think Bijan has more opportunities than Gibbs. I think maybe he's a little more talented. It's kind of arbitrary, but I'm just so high on the Lions offense rest of the season that Gibbs is going to be the number 1 beneficiary of that. I'm not worried about Montgomery capping his upside.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So Jahmyr Gibbs is my number 3. So, and I agree. I just think he's so darn fast, and that offense is going to keep him with touchdown potential every single week, regardless of who they're going against. We saw his floor against the Lions, against the Packers, which was an amazing defense. But now we're seeing what he can do when he's actually just a part of a regular game plan against a defense that's just okay, even good. He can really blow up.
Here's something crazy I didn't really consider before, but Quinshon Judkins didn't play week 1. Week 2 was his first week back, and then week 3 he had an incredible game against the Packers run defense. That really is insane.
It's important to me, like, because it's just in that context. If Quinshon Judkins is that guy and he can really do that against any team, he's gonna blow up against some of these bad run defenses.
I mean, he could be this is maybe hyperbolic, but based on what we've seen, he could be top 5 rest of the season. Like, it wouldn't shock me just based on last week.
Yeah, he looks phenomenal, and he was drafted before Travion Henderson, so I think that's worth noting if you care about draft capital, which you should. But there's still like some talk about him potentially getting suspended, and I don't believe it. I think they would wait till next year, regardless of any choices at this point.
Yeah, I think so.
My number 4 is Christian McCaffrey, so that's your number 1. I don't have a lot more to say than what we said. Your number 4 is Jonathan Taylor.
So yeah, those are the top 5. You have one other player, I think, in your top 5.
Yeah, I actually put Omarion Hampton in my top 5. I think that the touchdown potential is going to be there, and I think that now that he is the guy, because Hassan Haskins isn't going to steal work from him, not significantly. I think that he's going to have all the opportunity in the world on a team that looks like they are ready to dominate.
Yep.
And even on teams where the quarterback is just amazing, the running back usually has enough scoring opportunities to be incredible.
Well, like, case in point, I mean, yeah, like all the best offenses, which I think at this point the Chargers can safely say they are. Like, Goff's incredible passing on the Lions doesn't hurt Gibbs. Lamar on the Ravens doesn't affect Henry. I think that we see the Chargers offense now that they've gone into that upper echelon of like, okay, this is a top 5 offense. I like him. He's just outside my top 5. And what excites me about him is just his usage in the passing game as well. I say that it's kind of redundant, but like, especially on a good offense, that matters so much more.
Yeah. Let's move on to wide receivers. We have the same number 1, so why don't you go ahead and talk about him?
Puka Nacua, man. I mean, we were talking about maybe what's the earliest you would take him in drafts, and I was, I think I said the 104. We were on the same range, and I don't regret my choice of Bijan, but damn, like, if you took him early, like, you were smart. You big brained it. He has the potential, but based on what we've seen, he's on the trajectory. Again, this probably won't happen. he's on the trajectory to break Cooper Kupp season.
Yeah, that's insane. It's just insane.
Yeah.
He could do it. He's so good, and they will give him the ball over and over again. I mean, even on a game where he didn't score a touchdown, he still dropped 20 points in PPR because he had, what was it, 11 receptions?
I think, and he hasn't scored a single receiving touchdown.
Yeah, and he's number one. So
look at that. Yeah.
I'm gonna let you talk about your number 2 here first.
My number 2. Where am I? Okay, so yeah, I kind of went back and forth on this one, but for me, I am tired of. I've seen a little bit in the fantasy community people panicking on Ja'Marr Chase. So he had a mediocre week. He had an incredible week. He had a mediocre week. And I don't think Ja'Marr Chase is boom or bust. I think if the Bengals are smart, which, okay, maybe to be determined, but if you look at the target share and the like how they were forced when they force fed Ja'Marr Chase, they won. And when they like kind of let him, maybe get like half as many targets, six or seven, they're down by a lot. And the fact that he wasn't super heavily targeted against the Vikings was silly to me. Because you saw, I think he had like 16 receptions or like 18 targets or something crazy in the week 2 game against the Jags, and the Bengals won. So I think he is quarterback proof. I think that the Bengals are realizing that they need to just hyper target him constantly in order to be competitive and win games. And I'm not viewing him as a boomer bust. I'm just not. I'm not buying that. I think the Bengals are slow to start. They're getting adjusted. The Burrow injury really sets them back maybe a couple extra weeks, but I'm still all in on Ja'Marr Chase.
And I don't have Ja'Marr Chase in my top 5. I think to me he falls in that 7 to 10 range now. I think some of the upside is just capped off, but I don't see anything wrong with your logic here. My number 2 is JSN, just because of the target share and an offense that looks like it's actually going to be pretty good here. Mm-hmm. If he continues to get that large of a target share, and you could argue that he can't, but also this team is being pretty successful with it. He's just going to remain so stable and so solid throughout the whole entire year that I think it's hard for me to see him dropping. Is essentially outside of the top 5, but I like him even up to number 2 because every wide receiver will have a bad week. Mm-hmm. If they keep targeting him like this, he might not.
And that's the thing that it can go both ways. Sometimes you want a receiver on an incredible offense. Sometimes you want a receiver on maybe a mediocre offense, just because the Seahawks. We saw it against the Saints, but most games the Seahawks aren't going to be winning by a large margin. They're going to be having shootouts, and JSN is going to benefit greatly from that. He's my number 5. I think that he really is moving into that top 10 receiver in the league range.
Yeah, it's more than I could even have guessed. Who's your number 3?
My number 3 is in kind of a similar sense to Ja'Marr Chase, at least where the offense is now, is another hyper-targeted receiver in a mediocre offense, which is Malik Nabers. Now, I know he had a pretty dud week last week, like very dud. He had like 2 points. That goes about saying that is his floor. I'm excited about the addition of Jackson Dart into this offense. I think that Dart and Nabers, like there's going to be a connection there, at least compared to what we've seen with Wilson. And part of me is just like I'm still hung up on that reception in the end zone from Wilson week 2 against the Cowboys. Like he is just like the way he caught the ball, like his like I don't even know what the right word is, but like his poise or just like how he plays receiver is just like perfect. Like I don't know. It's like how he just everything. I can't even really think of how to put it, but like he just looks like he is like a wide receiver. He was born to be a wide receiver. And I just think that his amount of targets and receptions are going to be super, super high.
I do hope you're right. I don't have him on there because I'm really scared about the Giants just being a black hole for quarterbacks. My number 3 is Emeka Egbuka, which is so much higher than I would have guessed I'd put this guy. But right now, with the revolving door of receivers in Tampa Bay that aren't Emeka Egbuka, I don't see how he doesn't continue his upward trajectory at this point. Like the touchdowns might drop off a little bit, but he's going to get peppered with more targets. Even if Chris Godwin's back, I can't imagine Chris Godwin is just the same guy immediately. It'll take some time.
I'd say Emeka's in my top 10. I am cautiously optimistic. I think that he's incredibly talented, and I don't think he's going to regress, but I think defenses are going to start keying in on him more. And I still believe in Evans. Maybe it'll be hard if he misses multiple weeks, but Evans race to 1,000 yards. I think Evans, if he's healthy and he's there, especially later in the season when it's coming to like determining who wins the division, I think Evans is going to be a big piece of the offense. But having said all that, like Ibuka is incredible, and the Bucks offense is a top 5 one for me. So I think that Ibuka has, not just like weekly starter upside, but like regardless of competition, he's going to be top 10. A wide receiver 1 this season. I see it.
Mm-hmm. Who's your number 4?
My number 4 is okay. It's Amon-Ra, the Sun God. Similar logic to Ibuka, but an even more proven receiver. He's just got it, and he's in an incredible offense. Again, he's been buoyed by touchdowns and weaker defenses, but part of this maybe isn't like my absolute belief he's going to finish wide receiver 4 overall because he's great every game. I just think he's going to be so consistent that at the end of the year he's going to be like top 5 in points, if that makes sense.
It does make sense to me. He's my number 5. Pretty similar reasons. And the Lions just love this dude. Great offense, and they love the guy. It's going to be a good combo. We've seen it before. They'll get him a touchdown even when they're up 40 points just to get him a touchdown.
Yeah, just to give him, and he's so likable. I loved his. I will not repeat anything. Obviously, his touchdown celebration at the end of last week's game was so funny on live TV. He's a cool dude.
He got one through. My number 4 is actually Rome Odunze. And so I'm buying in on the Ben Johnson hype here, and I think Rome is going to be in that similar sort of like they're going to keep this guy involved no matter what the game is. And Rome is that number 1 for Caleb right now because the reason I specifically say this is that after watching that last game, DJ Moore really isn't involved. He had a good game, but he really isn't involved.
No.
Luther Burden might end up as the second most involved, and I don't think the rookie's going to take over the spot. Rome just looks amazing. Ben Johnson can scheme people open, and as we've seen, that's working right now. I think it continues to work.
I mean, God, I hope you're right. My only hesitation, at least so far, is that his target share just isn't up there enough for me, like where the guys on my list are hyper targeted. I feel like I personally like buy into targets more than any other thing with receivers, especially. That's like my big thing is like I key in on targets, even if you're not getting the receptions. If you're getting targets, that's what matters most. And Rome's not there yet for me, but I really hope you're right.
I was going to say something, but I lost it. Okay, we'll move on. I don't have a tight end list right now, but you do have a tight end list. So please list your tight ends.
Yeah, I think ours probably would be pretty similar. So I'll just rip it off real quick. My number 1 is Trey McBride, extremely consistent, similar to Amon-Ra. Like maybe he won't win you weeks, but at the end of the year, he's going to have the most points. And we saw he can make it into the end zone, so that's cool. My number 2 is Tucker Kraft. I just think that week 2 really showed how awesome he is, and with the injuries on his team, I really trust him on a weekly basis to get, at least even with the ball being spread around, I trust him to get 6 or 7 receptions and possibly a touchdown. So he's so safe. I think that with the tight end wasteland and what we've seen, he's very high chance of being number 2. My number 3 is Jake Ferguson. Like, again, with the targets, he's just getting so heavily targeted that it's impossible for him not to like get double digits each week. Like it's pretty crazy. And he's not scored a touchdown yet. And the CD Lamb injury, I think if Lamb does end up on IR, Ferguson would move up to number 2 for me. And then my last 2 are just 2 guys that maybe haven't broken out yet, but I still believe in. It's just Brock Bowers and Tyler Warren. I still believe in Bowers and his talent. It looks like he's maybe playing injured after that week 1 knee, because he was incredible week 1. Like, holy wow. And then he like went out, and then maybe he needs more time to recover.
His movement seems to be hampered a little bit, which is a large part of what he does. The only tight end I would say that I think could sneak in here over one we'll back to is Juwan Johnson because of how they're using him. He looks like he could realistically be like the wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 for the Saints. And if he stays in that role the whole season, I think he could sneak into the top 5.
I don't hate it. I think the Saints might switch to Tyler Shuck at some point, and we don't know what the chemistry is. Yeah,
that's fair. Okay, so let's move on to our last segment here. We are going to do our Nuclear Boys gut check starts and controversial sits. If you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and get us started here.
Yeah, take it away.
Okay, so my Nuclear Boys are, first off, I have Derrick Henry, the running back for the Ravens. And I know what we're all thinking. We're like, oh man, he's lost so many fumbles. He can't keep doing this. The team's going to run. They're not going to move away from Derrick Henry. And he's going against the Chiefs this week.
Ooh, nice.
I think that this is the week that he really shows out, and the Ravens really have something to say because they're 1-2 right now. Same record as the Chiefs. And I don't think they want to be 1-3. I think they want to make the Chiefs 1-3. So I think Derrick Henry is going to have a phenomenal game this week.
He really wants to prove himself. I agree. I think he's gonna show out.
My second is Jordan Mason of the Vikings. So the Vikings and the Steelers are playing in London. So get ready for that 6:30 a.m. I think that the Steelers' run defense isn't very good right now, and I think that they're going to take advantage of that. And the Vikings' defense is really good, so I think the Vikings will have a nice little cushion lead here and just keep running Jordan Mason.
I like it. Also, for similar reasons, starting off my Nuclear Boys. I mean, first of all, the Vikings are returning to Ireland, and they're bringing a ginger with them, and that's if that doesn't say success, I don't know what does. My Nuclear Boy is Justin Jefferson. I think that he's due for a nuclear game. And I believe in Wentz to really just chuck it out there. He didn't have to chuck it out the last game because the Bengals were atrocious. And I think this is where we're going to see Gunslinger Wentz, and we're going to see Justin Jefferson in the end zone. My other Nuclear Boy is, and this goes about saying, against an abysmal defense, is Josh Jacobs against the Cowboys. Micah might be the star of the show in terms of the revenge game, but Jacobs is going to run for 100 yards against his porous defense. Like he's going to go off. He might even catch a touchdown.
I was actually trying to figure out, I was like, which one of the receivers can I make? And I'm just like, I don't have the exact right guess on this because who could it be? It could be any of them. I do have a third just for fun. It is the Green Bay defense. I think Micah is going to wreck the Cowboys. I think it's like just full on revenge, mad, angry time. They lost the Browns last week and he got traded. Like, it's an anger game.
And I like the Packers secondary more than I expected. And I think Dak's going to be airing it out. So there's going to be potential for error there. And yeah, that's a great pick. I like it.
I love it. Okay, so now gut checks. So I just talked about which receiver. I did make a receiver choice here. I said play Romeo Doubs. He's the one who I'm throwing the dart at this week. One of these Packers wide receivers is going to score a touchdown, maybe two. I'm saying it's Romeo. I'm so sorry if it's Matthew Golden, but this is where I'm throwing it at Romeo. And then my second is Chase Brown. And the reason I put Chase Brown on here is because I know everybody is out on Chase Brown right now. But they are in the Monday night game. They're playing the Broncos, and this is how you beat the Broncos is you run at them. Catch passes. I don't know how well his rushing stats are going to look. They've been so bad lately, but I really think this is where he, at the very least, scores a touchdown and becomes fantasy relevant and has value again.
I think he's going to have the best game of the season. Not that it's saying much, but I think he's going to have his best game yet.
He's got to beat 13 points. That's super
hard. My first gut check start is someone I think I might have had here before, and he disappointed. But I'm over it. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say Trayvon Henderson. Like you said, I don't think the Patriots. They're not Bill Belichick anymore. They're not going to lean into benching. But Henderson's already leading this team in carries. He's already looking like the RB1. And again, Falcons notwithstanding. I mean, actually, no. Falcons, because Bijan looked really good against this run defense. But Trayvon Henderson's going against the Panthers. And that's a recipe for a breakout game.
True.
And then my other gut check start, and this is kind of a little bit of one I'm hesitant, but it makes sense in my head, is Brian Thomas Jr. And not because I expect him to break out, because he can only get better in theory, but it's because he's going up against Mac Jones. And I think he wants to show off for Mac because him and Mac had incredible chemistry and Mac left him. And now he has no chemistry with Trevor Lawrence. And I think he just wants to show out for Mac and be like, hey man, like, look at me.
Go. Let's find a team. Let's play together again. Let's go.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. I see you have a third listed there. You want to?
Oh yeah, I do. This is also just one another disappointing second-year receiver. I think Ladd McConkey's due for a touchdown against the Giants, right? Let's give Ladd a touchdown this week. Let's start him in your flex.
I can see that. Let's move on to controversial sits. So controversial sits, we have the same first one.
Oh, we do.
Yeah, so we both put David Montgomery, which after this last game, boy howdy, how could you ever put him in here? Well, because he's going against the Browns, and the Browns have managed to completely shut down the run. It's
Yeah.
not even a thing. So I don't think like David Montgomery doesn't. He has some receiving upside. It's not like it's not there, but you compare
Mhm.
it to Gibbs, it's not the same. And Montgomery, I think, is going to have a pretty poor game.
I mean, obviously, we're still starting Gibbs. I think with Montgomery, I think he had at least close to a career game last week. So it's hard to sit him, but Gibbs still had twice as many carries as Montgomery. And the Browns' run defense is a lot better than the Ravens' run defense. So Montgomery's not going to have that opportunities for these runs. Like, so say if Montgomery gets the same amount of carries and like a third as many yards and no touchdowns, he's putting up like 7 points. So,
Yeah, I mean, if you want to think about it, the Browns have stopped Derrick Henry.
mhm.
They stopped Josh Jacobs. They stopped Chase Brown. Like Chase Brown actually had probably the best game against him. Funny enough, this Browns defense is like legit for real. Like there's no way you want to play this RB1B against them, especially the one that's more based on rushing. I think you gotta pivot off of David Montgomery, even if he's your guy. My second controversial sit is Tyreek Hill of the Dolphins. So Tyreek Hill has been stringing together some okay games lately. That Jets defense looks real. Sauce Gardner got hurt, but he did come back in. I expect that Sauce will be on Tyreek, and he's just going to shut him down. Jalen Waddle might have an okay game,
Mhm.
but I'm not even that confident in that. But Tyreek, I'm saying get him out of your lineup if you can.
I like it. I think outside of Sauce, the Jets secondary without DJ Reader is pretty bad this year. Like there's no clear CB2. So I think I agree. I think Sauce is going to be on Tyreek Hill.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm not super high on him this week. Um, my controversial sit, and similar to Montgomery, this might be controversial because he just had such a great career game. It's Cam Scatabo. And look, I get that he had a great game. He's used in the passing game. If you really want to start Scatabo against the Chargers defense with a rookie quarterback making his first start, like if you feel like that's your best flex play, I mean, go ahead, but don't expect last week. And I don't see Scatabo going off against two AFC West run defenses back to back weeks. I mean, you can try, but I'm not excited about Scatabo.
The Chargers look pretty amazing against the run. They did give up a little bit to J.K. Dobbins last week, but I think that they're more vulnerable through the air, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And if Derwin James is playing, you can't like ignore that. Derwin James is so good. Yeah, I think that's all of them. We did it. We got all of
Nice.
them. I have one more question.
Yeah.
So let's play it. Let's see. So I was offered Worthy for Golden PPR. If you were offered Worthy, I think you take it.
I agree. I just think that Werby, again, maybe both crowded receiving rooms, but I think Werby just has more upside with the Chiefs than Golden does with the Packers.
Yeah, I think the Hollywood Brown game we saw week 1 was Hollywood Brown stepping into Worthy's role.
Yes.
And I think that we saw him peppered with targets because their receivers just kind of stink. Like the Chiefs, if they didn't go against the Giants last week and Russell Wilson not being able to complete a pass, they might be 0-3. They don't look great.
Mm-mm.
So they really need a receiving option to come in and like spruce up their receiving game. Xavier Worthy will do at least a little bit of that. And Golden, he's got all the potential in the world, but until I see the Packers fail because of the way they spread the ball, I don't think they're going to stop.
Yeah. Having said that, I would go out, listeners, and try and trade for Worthy in general.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It can definitely play off. And if you have an owner who's like 1-2 or 0-3 with Rashee Rice on his bench and like bad starters, you could try to trade for that too. That might be a little bit harder of a pull, but I think it's out there. And seeing the Chiefs as they are, they really I think these players are going to get peppered with targets. There's just no way. Okay, so that's it, everybody. That's all we got. So check us out next week, same time, same place on YouTube. We are available on Spotify and Apple Pods on every Thursday. Hang out with us, talk to us. Until then, doink out.
Doink out. And also Raiders Bears this week, so I'm excited. Or are you going to be at Sunday at 125, Nick?
Who knows? It depends on what this fever does. But oh man, I'm so worried about watching the Raiders. It's just unfun. Okay, what's doink out?
Doink out.